perhaps it's a smart idea to not tell everyone over and over again how you're Joe Biden, but like even worse. Welcome back to the HasanAbi Vindication Hour, where I tell you exactly how right I was for the past couple of years, but especially so in the past couple of months. And then libtards yell at me regardless until the television man also tells everyone, the libtards, that I was right. Welcome back. It's wonderful to have you. Hopefully, a lot of the libtards will learn their lesson that don't listen to the television man, listen to what I have to say, and you will at least be able to outflank the television man and look really cool amongst your other libtard friends when you are correct, and you are inevitably found correct. This is a HasanAbi Vindication Hour. Happens quite a bit, especially this past year. It's been 2024 HasanAbi Vindication year. Let's take a look. Harry Enton explains why some Democrats are worried. Run the numbers. Presidential race tightens even more.
Kind of an eternal question. Why some Democrats worry? Now, it's a trope. A lot of people will say they're always worried. But I will say, if you've been paying attention to social media or reporting on CNN, Democrats seem particularly worried now. Why? One man, as we say, has the answer. CNN's chief senior data reporter, Harry Enton, is here. So, why?
Why? What is with all of this bedwetting among Democrats? Maybe it's an eternal problem, but let's take a look here. These are, of course, the Great Lake battleground states, the states we've been focusing in on. If Kamala Harris wins these three, she most likely gets to 270 electoral votes. Take a look 3 weeks ago. Harris was ahead.
Momentum swinging.
By 2 in Pennsylvania, 2 in Wisconsin, 3 in Michigan. Look at where we are today. The race is even tighter than it was. Today, it's a 1-point advantage in Pennsylvania, 1 in Wisconsin, 1 in Michigan. Look, that's limited movement, but in a year in which this race has been so static, we're talking 1-point movement, 1-point movement, 2-point movements, and we see movements in all three. This is the type of thing that, at least in the public polling, makes Democrats worried, and I think that the public polling in this case is reflected in some of that internal polling, some of that reporting that suggests that these Great Lake battlegrounds.
I think polls mean nothing. Oh, they're back. The polls mean nothing. Libs are going to be so back. Vibes understander, bros. We are back in. Riding with Biden has now turned into riding with Harris into the distance. I love that. Vote blue no matter who. So consistent, so resilient. Who could have foreseen this? Why are Democrats bedwetting? The race is closer than it was 3 weeks ago. Way too close to call in all three. Also, Harris is doing 6 points worse on average in them at Biden at this point in 2020. Also, Dems worry more about a Trump presidency than GOP about Harris. Who could have foreseen this? I mean, who? Perhaps they are not appealing to Republicans enough. I'm going to tweet it. Step aside and let Romney run in the interest of bipartisanship. Oh, you know what? I'm going to say Nikki Haley. No way. Trump will be never president. Though, isn't Trump way too hated like Kamala, who doesn't even need to be that popular? Yeah, Trump is way too hated. But if you're turning around and looking at a hated guy and saying all of his policies are right, but he's too incompetent to run those policies, then why the should anybody vote for you? Notice the attitude shift from a lot of the liberals in the upcoming weeks, where all of these think pieces start coming out about like why the Kamala Harris campaign is hemorrhaging, why the momentum is swinging in the other direction. They will come in here and they won't say that I was right, but they'll start watching and they'll try to be a little bit more careful. Maybe they'll actually turn around and yell at me and say I'm the reason why she's doing poorly in the polls.
When you compare this to 4 years ago, what does it look like?
Yeah, so let's take a look, and we're going to look at an average across these three states, right? Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, an average on October 11th. What do you see? Well, if you look 8 years ago, Hillary Clinton was way out in front in an average of these three. She was up by 8. You go 4 years ago, Joe Biden was up by an average of 7 points across these three Great Lake battleground states. You come today, It's just a 1-point advantage for Kamala Harris across these 3 Great Lake battleground states. So Kamala Harris, at least in the polling, is doing considerably worse than Biden or Clinton. And of course, Clinton lost in all 3 of these states, and Joe Biden barely won in all 3 of these states. So when you see Harris up by just a point across these 3, I think that this is really the type of thing that gets Democrats really to worry, John, because the simple fact is Kamala Harris is doing considerably worse than either Biden or Clinton was.
Yeah, at this number, what you start hoping for is somehow that the polls
are actually right this time around?
Are right this time and doing a better job. And that's a little bit of a thin reed to base your hope on. There may be some other reasons in general why Democrats are more worried.
Yeah, so I think it just comes down to the fact that Democrats are more worried about a...
It's so funny because, like, people go, oh, Kamala Harris is too progressive. That's what Americans think. That's why she needs to be even more conservative. And then she goes more conservative. And then the people are like, yeah, we hate this. Perhaps it's not a smart idea to go to the middle when you popped off because you weren't Joe Biden. Perhaps it's a smart idea to not tell everyone over and over again how you're Joe Biden, but like even worse. Kamala Harris's economic domestic agenda is dog shit. She does not address a litany of the million different problems that Americans are experiencing. There's some good policies there. She doesn't hammer on them enough. You cannot opportunity economy yourself out of this situation. You're annoying. The do you mean opportunity economy? We're going to do $50,000 in tax cuts for small businesses. I love small businesses. I'm crying when I think about small businesses. Like, who the is this for? CNN's focused too much on the numbers without addressing why voters feel disconnected. Oh God, you don't want them to start chirping about why voters feel disconnected. This is a 9-minute video. Don't worry. They're going to do the panel. And in that panel, they're going to say, voters are feeling disconnected, one, because Kamala's a black woman. And then they're going to say it's because she's not being moderate enough.
Donald Trump presidency than Trump supporters are about a Kamala Harris presidency. So angry if the opposing candidate wins. 52% of Harris voters say they'd be angry if Donald Trump won versus just 42% of Trump voters who say they'd be angry if Kamala Harris was. So I think this is more of a bigger, larger picture. It's not just that the polls are tightening. I think it's just that Democrats, John, are more worried in general about a Donald Trump presidency than the reverse in this particular situation.
Harry Etten, thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend.
Have a great weekend.
You as well.
Kate?
Joining me right now is Gen Z activist, social media influencer, Carlos Eduardo Espina. He has 10 million followers on TikTok. I'm sure it's more than that if I check back. You can correct me, Carlos. And had also his speaking slot at the DNC, which is the last time that we spoke was right before you had your big moment on stage at the DNC. The New York Times headline on this event
I have no idea who this guy is. Do I know this guy? Who is this guy? Look at her in the back.
Right now is $5,000 to extend it to $50,000. Knowing what that will mean to tap into the ambition and the aspirations that people have, knowing that unlike my opponent who got handed $400 million on a silver tray and filed for bankruptcy 6 times, most people don't have that access to the wealth.
No, she's pro Kamala. You guys read this wrong. She just knows the talking points.
That is necessary for them to start a small business. But when they do, it's to their economic benefit as well as the economic benefit of the community. So these are just some of my plans. But there's another one that's more specific to, I think, your circumstance. And it's about also dealing with the sandwich generation. The
sandwich generation is such a goofy take, by the way, just on aesthetic front, on the optics front. I know, I get it. I get it. I know what it is. It's when you're both taking care of your parents and also taking care of your children, right? Like a lot of Gen Xers fit this, where they have children, but they also have to take care of their parents. And it's good. The policy attached to that sentiment is good, which is that we're going to bring into the care economy. We're going to expand Medicare into the care economy, which is a solid ass thing for sure. It's actually a very positive change, at least in the communication strategy. I just still think it's funny when they're like, it's the sandwich generation. Anyway, Obama has hit the campaign trail for Harris. It was kind of a mid-speech than when we were tuning into it, but we'll see.
Overnight, former President Obama returning to the campaign trail, hoping to get out the vote for Kamala Harris. In must-win Pennsylvania, Obama calling out black men who might be hesitating to support Harris, fearing it could benefit Donald Trump.
You have someone who has consistently shown disregard, not just for the communities, but for you as a person. And you're thinking about sitting out, and you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that.
The candidate of hope and change trying to convince voters that the sitting vice president can take the country in a new direction.
We are ready for a better story, one that helps us work together instead of turning against each other. Pennsylvania, we're ready for a President Kamala Harris.
But our new
Yeah, it's a hard bargain, man. It's hard to convince people of this message when the candidate herself every goddamn day on television is like, I love Republicans. I am a Republican. I'm very fond of Republicans. I've never thought of myself as a liberal Democrat. I am actually, please do not ever bring up the fact that I ran for Medicare for all in the doomed primary campaign. I want Republicans to literally vote for me. I want Republicans to be in my administration. It's my favorite. Hope and change. We're changing the Democratic Party, just not in the direction that you want it to be changed. We're changing the Democratic Party in the direction of the Republican Party. Yeah. And in that process, she has also copied the Mr. Beast policy. In Scottsdale, Arizona, Harris says she wants to create a bipartisan council of advisors to give feedback on policy. Mr. Beast, if I were president, I wouldn't care about party lines. I'd just always truly make the American people my number one priority. For problems I'm ignorant in, I'd have experts from the left and right advise me on them and try to find the middle ground that's best for America. Wouldn't be viable, don't care about doing things just because my party says I should, and I would focus on uniting the country instead of dividing it. Anyways, we can pick this up in 15 years when I'm old enough to run, haha. Well, good thing we have Kamala Harris to take up that mantle.